The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to Real Estate Matters. Along with our producer, Garrett Jones, I'm John Bramblett with Stewart Insurance, pinch hitting for Bill Napick. We have a great show for you today, full of great information. And to kick off, we're joined by two of the members of a Houston-based real estate group, the Taylor Real Estate Group, Wanda Taylor and Brenda Stardig. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, John.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it very much. Fantastic.
We'd love to have you here, and thank you so much for being our guests on Real Estate Matters. I know that the Taylor Real Estate Group, while you take care of customers all over the city, that you really have an emphasis and a love for the Spring Branch area. Tell me a little bit about what's happening in Spring Branch and how things are changing and growing.
Yes, and we want to describe what we mean by Spring Branch. We mean all the memorial villages and the area right outside the loop along the I-10 corridor all the way down really to Highway 6.
Yeah, it's both sides of the freeway. I-10, many moons ago, was put right in the middle of the heart of Spring Branch. And so even though there's the old Spring Branch, the Memorial Spring Branch, but it's all one big community, and we were very proud to serve and represent.
So what is it about Spring Branch that's been, I guess, so welcoming to the city, and why people continually want to live there?
Well, one of the main things that draws people is the school district. It has a very, very, very good reputation, and it drives our real estate prices by being able to be in this school district.
Another factor is the location. Many years ago, we did a study. Barton Smith, we hired him to do a study from the University of Houston, and in that study, he predicted that Gester and I-10 would be the epicenter of Houston, Texas, in 20 years. And here we are today. It is the epicenter of Houston. And so because of that location, convenience is a big factor for many people. Even though many people now are officing from home, you still have many things that you want to have the convenience. Getting to and from the schools, getting to and from the grocery, many other things that people are wanting to make sure that they have that convenience factor.
So you had mentioned the school district and how its reputation is a draw to Spring Branch, and then the great location that allows you to get wherever you need to get in the greater Houston area really easily. What are some of the other things about that neighborhood that make it so appealing?
I think it's the housing product. I think there's diversity throughout the entire market, whether it's the housing product itself, the new businesses in the area, the existing businesses. We've got something for everyone. You talk about the housing product. We got the 1950s, but we also have the new construction. Where 20 years ago we were begging for new construction to come to Spring Branch as a whole, now we're inundated, and almost any block you can look at, there's David Weekley Homes, there's Pulte, there's Cahovian, there's all these new construction moving into the area. And I think that's really an indicator of what the community can support economically and for the future of housing product and for the community.
So from a housing perspective, what is the market looking like right now in Spring Branch? Are there price points for everybody?
There are price points for everybody. Well, except for when you get below 200,000, you would probably have a really lack of inventory. But we actually have very low inventory. Things sell very, very quickly in the area. And you can go anywhere from something that's from 250,000 starter up to, of course, in Memorial, over 20 million. So it runs the gamut.
But even though I'd still like to even address the below 200,000, there are a number of townhomes and areas that are still situated in opportunity areas where there's been growth in what I call gathering places. we've got Kirby's Ice House that just moved in. We've got Mia's Table. We've got a number of other businesses that have seen the growth and understand that the median income will now support those businesses. So that with that rebuild of Gessner Road, north of I-10, adjacent to the Memorial City area on the other side, you're going to see the continued growth. So we've got 2 management districts in that area that support the businesses and also do a great job of promoting and advertising. And then you've got a TERS in the area that helps with the infrastructure and predictability. So all of those factors actually create a stronger community.
Well, you're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. We're visiting with Wanda Taylor and Brenda Stardig of the Taylor Real Estate Group. So you had mentioned that the homes aren't staying on market very quickly. So if I had a home in Spring Branch or wherever in the greater Houston area and I was looking to sell, what are the things that I can do to ensure that I get the most value for my home?
Well, you do want to make sure that it's a fresh coat of paint is sometimes the best thing that you can do for a home, but walking around, any deferred maintenance, performing it so that it looks sharp for the showing. Call your real estate professional, can come over and easily walk you through all the kind of questions that you have about things you might want to do to your home to prepare it to go on the market.
And Wanda Taylor has a great perspective on that. As many years, decades she's been in the business, and many of the agents we have at our brokerage, making sure that we look for pricing and condition, just like she said, is very, very important to make sure that it's priced right and that the condition is such to match that price. So we want to make sure that you get a professional involved to help you with that. And there's nothing to say that we can come out as a courtesy to help at the beginning, just to have those conversations.
So if we flipped a switch and I was looking to buy, what are the things that I need to be doing and paying attention to in order to find the right home for myself or my family?
And the first thing you do is you work with a loan officer to prepare what really you can afford, and you get the pre-approval so that we're ready to do our job and then help you focus in on the needs. We'll take a list of everything you're looking for and try to place you in the right area. And I think it's important that somebody picks somebody who really knows the area where they are looking to live. And it makes a big difference.
I think also relationships are very important. I think the relationships with the financial industry and understanding the products that are available, understanding the right match, understanding, again, what the product is that they're looking for. When somebody tells me that they only want to live there 2 years and then they want to use it as an investment property later on, that's a different match than someone that's looking to move into the neighborhood for the schools and they want to stay there till their children graduate high school. So, there's also those people that are looking for opportunities to be in a feeder pattern, but then there's also those that want to the private school route. So there's all sorts of different needs, and you have to be able to understand and be able to match those needs.
So with all that's happened this year and all that we're dealing with the pandemic, how has that changed how you work with buyers and sellers, or has it changed how you work with buyers and sellers?
It's changed a little bit. I think what people are looking for has changed a lot. A lot of people want a specifically nice place to have a home office. There's a lot more emphasis on the home having a home office, a place that's pleasant for them to work. But really, we're still showing houses. I mean, everybody's just being more careful to where we're wearing masks. They're cleaning. So we have done more virtual tours of homes, but it's still always seeing a home in person is what's important. And so, we're still conducting that way. If anything, I think more people want more land, more spread out, bigger spaces.
Are you seeing people, because of that, you talked about bigger spaces, home offices being important. Are you seeing people maybe go from inside the loop, if you're in the Houston area, or away from like a downtown urban area and more to the suburbs like a Spring Branch or a Katy or the Woodlands?
Yes, and we've even within our firm sold quite a bit of farm and ranch this year. I mean, we have people who want to go that route too, get out of the city altogether.
I recently sold one in the Round Top area, taking a friend of mine from the villages out. And so there is that, knowing that you're an hour away from town is not it's not as it's more desirable because you know that you're going to be able to work from home out there and still be able to do your job. So I think that's it's different. But there's still those that are downsizing and looking for less yard. So depends on the stage of life you're in. And again, that's why it's important to work with a professional that understands how to drive that information and to make sure it is the best match.
Let's talk about that, working with professionals. So, even though there's some technology that we're using today to help with the showings, that it's still people wanting to, in a sense, test drive the home and be in there and see it. How important then is it to have that right relationship between with your realtor? How important is it for an individual, whether they're a buyer or a seller, to have that relationship?
I think they need to have a lot of confidence, especially if there's a lot more that goes into it than people, they take it for granted, what a real estate agent knows and does. And so, Brenda and I both, our business is from people recommending us because of the job we did for them.
So somebody hears the show today and they say, I want to work with Brenda, I want to work with Wanda. How do they go about doing that?
Give us a call.
Okay, and what would be the best number? My
cell phone is 713-443-8908, and I'm Wanda Taylor.
And I'm Brenda Stardig at 281-726-1555.
And what is your web address? Because you have a great website.
It's taylorrealestate.com.
taylorrealestate.com.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. You've been listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Our guests have been Wanda Taylor and Brenda Stardig with the Taylor Real Estate Group. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm your host, John Bramblett, pitching in for Bill Napick. Our next guest we're really fortunate to have, he's the president of Beth Wolf Realtors, Ed Wolf. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Hi, thanks, John. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're so glad to have you here with us today. I'd like you to put on your forecasting hat, if you would, and let's talk a little bit about 2021 and beyond. With all that we've gone through this year with the pandemic and the changes in how people are working and lifestyle changes, do you see some significant changes in the real estate market and the real estate world based upon the actions that we've had to take this year?
It's certainly been a fascinating year. I think the impact of people being cooped up at home has changed their perspective of what home means. And whether you are home alone and find yourself more isolated than you'd like to be, or whether you're at home with 4 kids, a spouse that works with you at home working and trying to figure out how to make all that happen in one structure, those are all things that people are thinking about. And it has changed everyone's perspective on their home. I think from our side in the industry, we've found new ways to provide people with the information and comfort level that they need to move forward on a house without going out and seeing 20 or 25 homes at a time. I think people are taking more time to narrow the field so that they limit the number of properties that they're looking at. And so there's a lot of interesting things that have come out of this process that I think once we have a vaccine and our world potentially gets back to the new normal, we'll still find useful and helpful in helping people find the home that fits their needs.
So what are some of the ways that you and your team have had to adapt how you do business in order to help your clients either sell their home for the best value or find just that right, perfect home for themselves when they're buying?
Oh, we found that using things like Google Earth and virtual tools that you can provide people a true understanding of the neighborhood and the market without physically being in a car with them, driving them around town is one aspect of it. And also, I think now more than ever, the knowledge of an experienced realtor who has been actively selling property in the market that you're looking to acquire a home is really important, because your ability to experience life as it normally would be in those communities, in those areas, doesn't exist today. And where we used to tell people to go out to eat, go to the restaurants, go wander around the shops and the stores, that's not as easily done today, if at all. And so the knowledge and ability to convey that knowledge to your client is really, really important. And so the experience of those realtors really, really comes into play when a client is looking to buy. On the sales side, having the tools necessary to portray that property electronically in a way that convinces people that it's one of the properties they need to narrow down to. There's never going to be a substitute to coming and physically seeing it live and in person. And the hard part about virtual tours are sometimes you get a distorted view of what things look like. And so we have to decide on every property what are the best tools to convey the highlights of that property in a way that makes it one of the properties that people narrow down to and want to come see. So working together with our sellers, understanding what it is they love about the home, what's been so terrific about being there, and trying to highlight those features, whether that's through a virtual tour or a Matterport tour or aerial drone shots showing the proximity to the park or things like that. It's trying to connect the right things about each property, and every property is different. So it's important that we give each one its appropriate featured highlights.
Do you see this kind of melding of the traditional way that we've worked with buyers and sellers about physically seeing the property, combining with the way that we're having to use technology today because of the circumstances that we live in? Do you see that continuing on as you said, once we get back to whatever the new normal is?
100%. Yeah, I think we have found a new connection with our devices that we never knew we had or needed, and it's a 2-minute preparation time to hop on a Microsoft Teams or Zoom call with somebody to review all of these properties and features, and it used to be if somebody wanted to interview you via Skype or talk to you about things over the internet, that would take an hour lead time just to figure out which device and mechanism we're going to do it from. And so I think that's made life a lot more interesting and easy. It still doesn't have the ability to convey the feeling of a property or a neighborhood, and I just don't know how to cross that bridge virtually. I think at some point we've got to have that in-person experience. Although we've sold houses without people ever seeing the home or the property or the neighborhood, it's very nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking for them. It's difficult for us. It's something that you never feel comfortable with, and I think we're getting more comfortable with that. But it's there's still no substitute to standing there, feeling, smelling, touching, being in a place.
You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. We're visiting with Ed Wolf, the president of Beth Wolf Realtors. If I could get you, Ed, to keep your fortune-telling hat on for a bit longer, what do you see the real estate market in Houston specifically looking like in 2021? Do you think it's going to be a significant reduction in the availability of homes? What are you seeing, or what do you think you're going to see in 2021?
Well, I think that 2021 is going to be an exciting year for the real estate market. We've got still very low inventory. Pricing strategies are really, really important in determining whether or not a property is going to move quickly or linger on the market. And so working together with sellers to get a property priced appropriately has been one of the more difficult things in this time frame, because we have to predict what a market will be like post-COVID, and we have to look at what has happened during COVID and how has that impacted a specific neighborhood or area or property type. And so it does take a lot more effort to determine what is going to help a property sell. But I would tell you that 2021 looks spectacular for the real estate market. If you are a seller, I think you're going to be very pleased with where things are going forward. If you're a buyer, you're going to work hard to find the property that you want, and when you find it, you're going to have to move on it pretty quickly, because as of right now, we're seeing more buyers interested in the same product than we have product to offer them. So I think that'll continue for the next 6 months at least. And then as things settle back down and people start to feel more comfortable and hopefully we have a vaccine that's taken place, then I think you'll see more people putting their houses on the market and getting the inventory to even out with the demand.
So you've talked about the importance of, if you're going to be selling, to have the right pricing strategy, and if you're buying, to be willing to make a decision if you come across something quickly, because it may not be on the market very long. What are some of the ways that, if you could continue on a little bit on that thought process, what are some of the ways that you counsel your clients and then your team counsels your clients whether they're a buyer or seller, to make sure that when I see that home, I know it's the right home, or when I'm selling, I'm getting the best value for my property?
I think it's identifying the needs of our clients is the number one thing. We try to do a proper needs analysis up front. We work together not just to look at the product, but lifestyle. For a buyer, lifestyle is really, really important. What do I like to do on the weekends? What do I like to be close to? What are our hobbies and interests? Do we have pets? What is their personal life situation? Because I can find you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house pretty much anywhere in Houston at the price point that you want it to be in. It's more a question of where do you want to be and why. And most people aren't necessarily prepared to answer that question right off the bat. So we have a list of questions that we work through to try and resolve that. From a seller's perspective, I think it's tempering their desire to get the most money possible out of the asset that they own with the reality of the market that surrounds them. And if there are 10 homes on the market and they have not been moving, there's a reason. And that reason is going to be related to a multitude of things, but mainly it's pricing that will make the difference in whether or not that property is going to move. And so it's our job to help take the positives of the home, highlight those, make sure that we're looking at what other inventory is available at the same time, and really address the positives and the negatives in a pricing strategy that puts that property to the number one slot out of 10 if that's what we're up against. If you're the only house on the market in the neighborhood, then pricing strategy is pretty easy. We can press the envelope and see where we go. But that's all very dependent upon the specific situation.
We're visiting with Ed Wolf of Beth Wolf Realtors on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. You've talked a little bit about, or quite a bit about, the processes that you and your team go through to help, whether somebody's a buyer or a seller. Looking at it from the other side of the fence, what should a buyer or a seller look for in a real estate professional, in your opinion?
Well, I think you used the term correctly, professional. I love our industry, and I love what we do. We help people find a place that they house their most precious possessions and people in their lives, and we take that responsibility very, very, very seriously. And never fails to amaze me when somebody says, well, I've got to use my cousin. He's sort of a part-time realtor and then does some other stuff on the side. So, but is it okay if I call you and ask you some questions during the process? And it's like, on the most expensive asset that most people own in their lifetime and where they're going to place their family and their possessions and their life, finding a professional, somebody who does this full time, who has worked at it and knows what the potential ups and downs and issues might be in a transaction is really, really important. And for all of our team, every single one of them is professional. They do this full time. They do not have other jobs. For us, experience, there's no substitute for experience. Company was founded in 1978. I've been doing this since 1993, and most of our agents have been doing it for years. So that's my advice.
Well, if they'd like to reach out and visit with you some more, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, Ed?
They can call our office at 713-622-9339 or go to Beth Wolf, BETHWOLFF.com, where you will find the ability to click and search for properties or connect with us at any time.
We've been visiting with Ed Wolf, the president of Beth Wolf Realtors, and you're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title.
Real Estate Matters would not be possible without our partner and friend, Stewart Insurance. With a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers, Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is once again, John Bramblett. John.
Bill.
Hey, here we go. It's insurance time once again. As far as insurance talk, what premium insurance talk do you have for us today?
Well, I'd like to continue our discussion around risk and exposure. 2 weeks ago, we began this discussion and we reviewed what risk and exposure are and what it means to manage that risk and offset that exposure. Last week, we began reviewing 3 of kind of the 8 factors that we see that can increase risk. So today, I'd like to continue our discussion on real estate industry factors that could increase the risk that our partners might come across.
That sounds good. What are they?
Well, let's begin. The 4th one would be business relationships. Be aware of and vet your business relationships, your referral partners, and your associates. These associates that we work with, that we refer, that we hire, they're all a reflection of us and our firm, both positively and negatively. So it's important to be aware of those associates and those relationships, and be careful about what firms and who you recommend to your clients, because again, that can reflect both positively and negatively back on you as a business owner as well as your firm, which could cause a potential risk. The next one would be electronic communication. So even before the pandemic, we were using electronic communication more and more. It had increased quite significantly. With the pandemic, with this onset of the pandemic, our industry's use of electronic communication has exploded. So you've got virtual open houses, you have Facebook Live, Zoom meetings, text messaging, email, electronic signature, the use of laptops and cell phones and tablets have all increased. And with that increase becomes the concern that you could potentially be hacked or infiltrated by the fraudsters, where they potentially could misdirect funds or steal personal and confidential information. So it's just important to be careful about that electronic communication, how you use it and when you use it.
And as you mentioned, checking out people we're going to do business with. It was not that long ago on this show. Many people we had a private investigator on the show, and many people get background checks on people they're entering business deals with, they're getting ready to employ, and even in the world of matchmaking and dating, sometimes people check out the other potential mate. So checking people out these days is very important, and there are people that do that professionally.
Absolutely. It's just important that, we had talked in previous shows about as professionals staying in our lane and doing the things that we do best and letting those that do other things best do their work. And that's part of that idea of vetting, is that, one, we don't recommend things that we shouldn't be recommending, but also if we're going to suggest somebody or an organization, that we've done our homework to make sure that we're comfortable with them, because as I said, that's going to be a reflection on us as an individual as well as a reflection on our company.
That's right.
The other one to take a look at would be managing information that kind of goes hand in hand with electronic communication. Many of us in the industry, handle and store non-public personal identifiable information, NPPII, non-public personal identifiable information. So just think about all the things that we might come across and we might handle for our clients. Social security numbers, driver's license numbers, citizenship status, gender, their address, their phone numbers, their email addresses, financial information, date of birth, place of birth. Just think about all that information that we would have, and then what happens if your files get hacked? What happens if somebody loses a file, loses a laptop, loses a cell phone, and that information becomes somebody else's knowledge and how they could use it? So just keep in mind all the information that we manage and how critical that is. The other area to take a look at is, and it's very prevalent today, and even more so during the pandemic, is this idea of the use of social media and advertising. That online, the use of online tools to interact with prospects and clients is fantastic, and it's a great form of building your business and maintaining your business. But it does come with risks, and we just need to keep that in mind, that with that great tool, it does come with it risk. The old adage of with each action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and that's part of that with the social media. So just keep in mind, what information are you sharing when you market yourself or your marketing properties. So just keep in mind, what am I sharing, and is what I'm sharing potentially could cause a risk for my business or for my clients. Am I using a photo or an image that's something I don't have the rights to? Am I violating a copyright situation, and suddenly I get sued for using a photograph or an image that I don't have the rights to? So keeping that in mind, could a post that I have be construed as being negative against somebody? So suddenly I get sued for a slander, a claim for libel. So again, keep that in mind. And could the information that I post online lead to social engineering? We've all heard about social engineering from a cyber attack perspective, and all that really is, it's a use of deception to manipulate individuals for fraudulent purposes. The use of deception to manipulate individuals for fraudulent purposes. So instead of using technology to get into a company's technological, get into their computer system, they're fooling us. Hey, Bill, this is your boss. I need you to send me this information. It looks accurate, so I send the information, but it's not my boss. It's a fraudster.
Somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
So many things to think about, John. If someone wants to reach out to you, what should they do? Or your company, Stewart Insurance?
Give us a call at 866-798-2827. They can email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com or visit us online at stewart.com.
So informative every time. The number is 866-798-2827. Wherever you are in the United States, you can call Stewart Insurance. They're there to help you, not just in Houston, but far beyond. Thank you so much, John. The number again, Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. Did I get that right, John?
You did it. I believe it's 866-798-2827.
We should put music to that.
Welcome back to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, along with our producer, Garrett Jones. I'm your host, John Bramblett, and we're pitch hitting for Bill Napick today. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance. With a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers, Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. And today we have the president of Stewart Insurance, Tom Carpentier, as our guest. Welcome back to Real Estate Matters, Tom.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Today we've had some really great guests with Ed Wolf with Beth Wolf Realtors and Wanda Taylor and Brenda Stardig with the Taylor Real Estate Group. And they've been talking a lot about how buyers and sellers can make the most of today's marketplace. Talked a little bit about what they see going forward in the real estate world, and a bit about what a buyer or a seller ought to look for in a real estate professional. I know at Stewart Insurance, you and the team have a vision to be the most admired insurance resource for real estate. Why is having an insurance partner with a focus on real estate such a valuable asset for your clients?
Well, yeah, thanks for the question. It's certainly a great lineup of guests there, and I'm sure and some great information as well. So it's really important when looking at whether you're a real estate broker, any type of business, when you're formulating your insurance and risk management plan, it's important to consider a partner that is really a subject matter expert, not only in insurance, but also that truly understands the industry that they're looking to support. When it comes to insurance, words really do matter in terms of how the policies are manuscripted, because that manuscripting or how those policies are written really outline the intent of what the insurance provider intends to cover related to the specific exposures and risks. So, we focus on what we know and what we're good at and what we feel like we can be the best at, and kind of looking at that, we took a step back and said, we can't be all things to all people. And we believe insurance providers should really apply the resources and develop the capacity to help clients in their specific industry, and really, for lack of a better description, really specialize in those areas. And that's and that kind of translates to being someone that runs a business and really understanding what it's like, and kind of reflecting on that, and really understanding that it's truly important to leverage a resource that understands the nuances of the business that they're looking to support and those related industries. And so, my counsel to any real estate broker that's out there that is coming up on a renewal or doing a new year review of their insurance and risk management processes and best practices, really seek out a professional that understands their business, that can truly be an advocate for them in building a proper insurance plan, and not only writing the insurance, but really understanding the workflows and how the services, the specific services they're providing, how they're communicating and conducting business, so they can also, along those lines, develop a list of best practices that they can follow as well. So, in short, it's really important because, again, insurance is very nuanced, and the words, are only as good as the intent. So you really want somebody that's going to help you construct an insurance policy that's going to answer the bell if there is a situation that's really manuscripted to how you do business.
You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Our guest is Tom Carpentier, the president of Stewart Insurance. So it sounds a bit, Tom, like having a specialist is important. So if you were, going to, if you had some issues with your knees, you're going to go to a doctor that specializes in joint replacement and knee surgery. You're not going to go to a general practitioner. Is it, in a sense, kind of the same thing in insurance?
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy. If if you're having health issues, you may start with your general practitioner, and then they may recommend somebody that would be more equipped with some specialty knowledge to address whatever potential problems they think the customer or client might have. So very similar to that. I mean, if you look across any service industry, right, even within the real estate broker channel, you'll have specialists for buyers, sellers, commercial, relocation. I mean, depending on what they do, they may specialize. They may do a little bit of everything, but a lot of firms will be very specific at times in terms of who they're serving, and then develop that subject matter expertise to be able to truly support it. And so across all service lines, right, whether it's doctors, whether it's accountants, attorneys, there's certain ones that you're going to kind of go to based on the specific areas of expertise that they have. So I think insurance sometimes gets is looked at as very general, but in reality, it's a service and a product that's being provided, and we talk about it all the time internally and to our clients, unfortunately, and many times, fortunately, that insurance isn't one size fits all. You have to really take a look at it to ensure that it meets your needs. And if your business meets the needs based on how you do business. So, we often say that it's you need to have a strong advocate, a strong group that you can rely on that understands your business. But also as a business owner, you have to invest in it a little bit to ensure that you are getting the right type of insurance plan that's going to meet your needs in terms of how you do business.
The specialization and the focus on real estate and how it can help the real estate brokers and related real estate professionals from a business perspective is quite unique. Can you take, or do you and your team take that same perspective for an individual that's looking to maybe buy or sell a home, and then some of the related insurance products that would go along with that?
We do. So, focusing on real estate, obviously we're looking at clients that are either businesses that are supporting the real estate market. For example, as you mentioned in your opening, that we focus on developing insurance plans and working with real estate broker firms because they're in real estate and we understand real estate, so that's a good fit. And we've developed the subject matter expertise support. So on the individual level, we have a group that works with home buyers across the country. So while there's tons of groups out there that can write, whether it's an insurance company or another insurance broker, they can write home insurance. I think one of the things with us specializing in working specifically with home buyers kind of as our entry point when writing individual insurance is that we're working with clients across the country. So we may insure a client buying a home in Nebraska or Texas. But one of the things I think in us being able to focus, on home insurance across the country is that, many times we'll have a home buyer that's maybe moving from Nebraska to Texas. Well, as you might imagine, the exposure to an insurance company for a home sitting in a coastal county like we have in Harris and Fort Bend and Galveston, it's a whole different set of risks for that insurance company. So we often see higher premiums here in our area than you might see in the Midwest or in my example, Nebraska. So, what I'm getting at is that because we focus on it, if that client's moving from Nebraska to Texas, they may see a spike in insurance compared to what they're accustomed to, right? So, we're able to explain those differences, why that is, and it seems common sense to understand that, but if you're not focusing in on it every day, we don't take anything for granted. So we take the time to explain the nuances. If somebody's moving into, say, Galveston County, well, in Galveston County, wind is excluded from homeowners policies, 99% of the insurance companies. So many times you have to find an alternative third-party option for wind, and where it would be, wind damage or exposure would be included in policy in many states. So, focusing on the individual and leading with the home insurance definitely is panning out to be a really good model and providing great resources for the home buyer because of our specialization in home insurance.
So if we have an individual listening that would like to talk with a member of your team about their insurance, or a real estate professional or a broker that would like to have a conversation about being properly insured, what's the best way for those folks to get a hold of you and your team?
So the best way is to call our main number, which is 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. Or they can email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com. Or if you just want to look us up and get some general information about who we are and what we do, you can go to stewartinsurance.com.
Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you being our guest today. This has been Real Estate Matters with Stewart Insurance. This has been John Bramblett, pinch hitting for Bill Napick, and Bill will be back with us next week. Thanks again for listening.